Hello, welcome to Cybersecurity Fundamentals. My name is Michael Ramage. I'm the director of the Cyber Education Research Center at Murray State University, and welcome to Cybersecurity Fundamentals. Cybersecurity Fundamentals is designed to provide you simple steps that you can take to keep yourself, your family, and your organization a little safer in cyberspace. Each video will tackle a different topic as it relates to cybersecurity. This video, we're going to talk about password security, how to create strong passwords. We'll talk about why that's important in a different video. We'll talk about home network security. We'll talk about ransomware, email phishing, all in separate videos, but all designed with one thing in mind: simple steps that you can take to keep yourself, your family, and your organization a little safer in cyberspace. So let's get started with strong passwords. As I mentioned, we're going to talk about strong passwords. In my mind, all security starts with having strong passwords. You'll hear that it's about user security, which it is. It's about a lot of different things. But for me, the thing that you can do to keep yourself safer in cyberspace is to start with a strong password. So what does that mean? That's what we need to look at. First of all, it is recommended, not by me, by NIST, which is the National Institute for Standards and Technology. They recommend using at least 8 characters and no more than 64 characters in length. The 64 characters, I don't know anybody that has a 64 character password, but if you do something longer than that, it could cause other problems. So you don't want it that long, but you want it at least 8 characters. And now I recommend maybe 12, maybe 14, 16, 18 character passwords. You'll hear always talk about having uppercase, lowercase, numbers, special characters. All of those things can be important, but length, the longer it is, the more secure your password is. So I highly recommend creating a long password that you can remember. Step 2, do not reuse passwords. Strong password, a unique password. Here's the catch. If say you have a Facebook password and Facebook gets hacked and their passwords get released, which has happened before on the dark web, they don't have to know your password if they know the hash of your password. They can pass the hash to another system and see if it matches. The system will think that you entered in your password and it was hashed and sent. In reality, it was being stored in a hash format, and I'll explain what all that means in another video. But the point is if you're reusing passwords, you're putting your accounts at risk. You're putting your safety at risk. Do not reuse passwords. And that makes it hard. And I'll explain something that you can do to help address that in a minute. So let's give an example of passwords. Here's two things, Moana and Yellowstone, that are unrelated. But if you know what you know about Moana, if you watch the video or the movie, if you've watched the TV show Yellowstone, then maybe you have some connection to those two, but those are unrelated really beyond that. In Moana, there is a song, How Far I'll Go, and it starts off, I've been standing on the edge of the water. In Yellowstone, they always talk about taking someone to the train station, which isn't really a nice thing, but it's a saying from that show. So what if you put it all together, standing on the edge of the train station? Now, to anybody that's not familiar with Moana and Yellowstone, together, those things mean nothing. But even together, they mean less. Standing on the edge of the train station is something that you can remember. It's long. It's extremely long. 30-something characters. But it's also something that you can remember. Standing on the edge of the train station. It makes sense in my head, but to anybody else, it doesn't. So that might be something that you would consider. Now, to be clear, do not use this password. This password is in a video. This video is on YouTube. It's no longer a safe password. I actually was listening to a speaker once who was hired by NASA to test their passwords. And he gave a demonstration. Actually, on the first day, he was able to break in and steal a lot of passwords with permission, but he was able to guess a lot of the passwords. So then he sent an email out with an example kind of like this on what a strong password would look like. He came back the next day, and a lot of people at NASA, literally rocket scientists, changed their password to something like the example, like exactly like the example that he used in the email. So don't use this one. But what this should do is to give you an idea of how you can put things that may not relate to others together, and it's still easy for you to remember, but it's going to be hard for somebody else to guess. So that standing on the edge of the train station could be a strong password. If you have multiple accounts, hundreds of accounts maybe, and I am asking you to have unique passwords for all of those, you might think that's impossible for you to remember all of those passwords. Well, there's two things that I'm going to suggest. First of all, don't require password changes more frequently than once a year. So now you may not have control over this, but the recommendation that is from NIST now is to not change your passwords as often. The reason that you would have to change your password is now if that password was in a data breach, if that password was on the dark web. Now, again, it may not be your password. It may be a hash of your password. It may not be something that you're using. It may be something that somebody else used. But as long as that hash of your password is on the dark web, it doesn't need to be used and it needs to be changed. Otherwise, you don't have to change your password every 3 months like it has been asked of you by a lot of organizations over the past. You don't have to change it as often because we're using longer, more complex passwords. They're going to be harder and take longer for somebody to guess or brute force. So that's an important piece. Second, it is recommended, and I'll do a whole video talking about password managers, but it is recommended that you store those passwords in a hashed format. A hash is essentially, it's a one-way encryption. The only way that you can guess your password from your hash is if you enter the same characters. And we'll talk about what that means in another video. But if you store those securely in a password manager, then you won't have to remember all of those. A secure password manager is a secure, modern piece of paper that you write your passwords down on. This is a way to do that in a secure manner. This is a way to do that somebody's not going to come look under your keyboard and find your password. They're going to have to find your password to your password manager, which is hopefully a strong password as well, before they can get access to those other passwords. And it's a common industry standard now to use password managers, and I highly recommend that you do that. Password managers are a way that you can have 30, 40, 50, 100 passwords, all of them be unique, and all of them be strong passwords, and you remember them. That's what I recommend. There's some ways to implement password managers that even will integrate with some of your apps on your desktop. There's a lot of really nice ways to do that now, and it will keep you safe in cyberspace. I hope you found these tips helpful. There's a number of other password tips that I could give you, like don't use the administrator password for the same thing as yours. Have a timeout, a lock if you put in the wrong password a few times. But if you can start with having a strong, unique password, that's going to be a really good first step. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about two-factor authentication. That's a necessity today as well, but that takes it a next step beyond passwords. So anyway, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out and let me know. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.